Oh, one more thing, sir. We got something else on the gun. Did I mention that?
Everyone knows that Columbo is one of the best homicide detectives, but what you may not know is that he is also a fantastic empiricist philosopher. By using simple facts and clever logic, Lieutenant Columbo always brings the culprit to the point where they simply can no longer deny their guilt. In this video, we're going to look at the way Columbo does this, by using a method of arguing which was first identified in ancient Greece by the great philosopher Aristotle, a method called dialectical argument. Socrates, the father of Greek thought, took his mission in life to be an examining of people's beliefs. He would start a conversation with someone, asking them their opinion in some subject or other, and then just by asking them simple questions he would bring them to the point where they had made statements which were contradictory to those they had started off with. This is the essence of dialectical argument. It is argument which is carried out by asking questions. One person in the argument attacks some position and the other defends it. And the only thing the attacker is allowed to do is ask questions and present simple logical arguments. What Aristotle did, though, was to give us a recipe, as it were, on how to successfully win these types of arguments. There are two steps to Aristotle's process. The first step is to find an appropriate set of mutually agreed premises between us and our opponent, and then step number 2 is to use a collection of argumentative rules Aristotle formulated called topoi, which will lead from our premises to our desired conclusion. This can be accomplished if we find premises that have two properties. The first is that the desired conclusion logically follows from them, and the second is that our opponent will concede them. Let's look at how to achieve this, learning from the great man himself, Columbo.
We still think it was premeditated, don't we?
Oh, I don't know, sir. What do you suppose?
Well, I suppose if that's your instinct, then it must be right.
Each episode of Columbo plays out as one long dialectical argument between Detective Columbo and the killer, here played by William Shatner in the white suit. In this video, we're just going to look at one part of it. Columbo needs to demonstrate that the murder was premeditated and cold-hearted. Shatner, however, is saying that this is not true, that the murder was not premeditated, but was in fact a robbery which went wrong, and that the victim was simply at the wrong place at the wrong time. Let's skip forward a little bit and see how this plays out.
I mean, we still don't have anything to go on except the fact that the killer hit the bullseye from 30 feet.
Now, to begin the dialectical argument, Columbo has just put forward his first premise, that the killer hit the bullseye, that is, accurately hit the victim from 30 feet away.
If he hit the bullseye at him.
Shatner, however, is not accepting of this premise. To counter Columbo, he is in fact about to put forward his own chain of dialectical argument. He will start by suggesting some new premises, as you will see, and then he will use a chain of logical argument to arrive at his own conclusion rather than Columbo's.
What do you mean, sir?
I mean that there's as good a chance of a man hitting the shoulder as there is of his hitting the heart. Which leads us to another theory. We're going to assume that our man is a robber with no prior intent to kill anyone. And we're also going to take into account the fact that a bullet aimed high at the back has a better than 28% chance of killing the victim by hitting a vital organ. In a crime that is not premeditated by a robber who is not an expert marksman. Now, what do you think the odds rise to if the man is an expert marksman? Do you think an ex-mercenary, a kid hung up on guns, a former policeman, shoot at still targets? No. Part of being an expert marksman is hitting a moving target. And a man who is accustomed to firearms enough to be an expert marksman is often in a situation of panic.
It's brilliant, sir. That's very impressive. No wonder you solve more crimes than I do, sir. Oh, wait a minute. Wait a minute, sir. I forgot.
All very convincing, but do not despair, because what Columbo has actually done is cleverly to wait for Shatner to reveal his entire argument. And in fact, like any great dialectician, Columbo has not revealed all of his premises up front. He has kept a further premise in reserve. As he uses it next, he will tailor his argument specifically to disprove the chain of reasoning just put forward by Shatner.
Forgot one.
The dress.
The what?
I think I can show you what I mean, sir. Excuse me, sir. Would you draw a circle back there, right around the area of the heart? Don't press too hard, sir. I don't want to ruin the coat.
Now what?
Now I drop my hands. Do you see what happened to that circle, sir? When I dropped my hands, the circle dropped too. Now, when I first saw Mrs. Daly's body, I noticed that she was wearing one of those tight-fitting dresses, and that the bullet hole in the dress was about an inch below the actual wound in her body, which meant that she had to be holding her hands up when she was shot. And she couldn't be running away, could she? I mean, with her hands standing like this. No one runs for their lives with their hands straight up. So either she was walking with her hands straight up, or she was standing still with her hands straight up when the gunman shot her in the back.
Very well done. But I wish you had said something before about this. We would have saved us a lot of time, wouldn't it? Well, we're back to our deliberate murder, aren't we? And this time there's no doubt of it. Really, Lieutenant. Really well done.
Wood!
And there you have it. Columbo has established the killing must have been deliberate. Shatner can neither deny the premise nor deny the logical argument which leads to the conclusion. Columbo has won this round of dialectical argument. So now we have seen the method of dialectical argument. But aside from the method, what is it that we can ultimately hope to achieve through this dialectic? Is there a larger role for dialectic in philosophy? What Aristotle tells us is that in many areas, an important starting point for inquiry are those opinions that are commonly held by people. Aristotle states the aim of dialectic is to take these commonly held beliefs as the premises to start from, and then to use purely logical argument to see what conclusions we can draw. In particular, Aristotle says, the truths of ethics can only be discovered by dialectical argument, as ethical truths must originate from the most fundamental beliefs which we commonly share. But more than that though, the dialectical method is the very essence of the scientific method. It gives us a system for thinking about the world and developing theories of the universe. Put simply, it's just the correct way of doing things.